Yo, what's going on, guys? Hopefully, y'all doing pretty good. Ah, I don't really know where to begin. For those that are football fans, man, the Niners just they suck this year. I'm not too sure what it is. Don't know if it's Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator, experimenting with the defense. I don't know if it's Kyle Shanahan's inconsistent play calling or the sample size of Brock Purdy not being who he is. I don't know, man. It's tough to be a Niner fan right now. I was watching a little bit of hockey. Little did I realize, man, that the Sharks are 0-7. I think they won today, or at least they were winning 1-0 in the second intermission. But can't believe the San Jose Sharks sucked that bad. They were winless and going into 8 games of the year. Warriors look to be doing all right. There's a lot of fights in boxing over the weekend. There was Oshaki Foster versus Rocky Hernandez. Turned out to be a really good fight in Mexico. On Friday, there was Amanda Serrano creating history. For the first time in female history boxing, there was a 12-round fight, 3 minutes apiece. I didn't get to watch the fight, to be honest with you, but I did watch my native Californio, Angel Chavez, go the distance with, I guess you can say, a competent journeyman, a guy that was there to survive, but willing to give a young prospect good work. I've known Angel Chavez for a long time, since he was probably 15 or 16. I've seen him in the amateurs. I've seen him spar, and I see him grown, right? When he was an amateur, 15, 16 years old, he was like 5'11". Now the homie's like 6'3". He used to be sparring at fighting like around 141. Now he's at 168. And he's being trained by Rick Ramos, if I'm not mistaken. So he looks to be okay, developing well. Not trying to take shots or anything, but he's one of the most powerful boxers in around this area. But he's got to learn to throw more punches. When he was an amateur, he would gas out. When I'd seen him spar, he would gas out. But when he throws that left hook, it's a thing of beauty. Oscar De La Hoya left hook. But yeah, I'll probably watch the Amanda Serrano fight. I got to give credit to her. I was really excited. It was just a busy Friday and Saturday for me, right? For those listeners, I had to prepare a Halloween, small little Halloween party, putting up the decorations, the lights, cleaning up. So it was pretty fun, man. Pretty enjoyable. Got to see some familiar faces, some childhood friends that I haven't seen over a year or so. So it was good to, bond for a little bit. And then, of course, on Saturday, before Oshaki Foster and Rocky Hernandez got down and fucking gave Mexico a really good-ass fucking fight, there was Francis Ngannou versus Tyson, the Madman Fury. Fury lost that fucking fight. Because if this is an exhibition, right, here's the thing with these promoters and these fights. You cannot sign in or come to an agreement. You cannot come to an agreement before a fight even happens. So, for instance, if Tyson Fury is scheduled, quote unquote, to fight Alexander Usyk in December, that should not be allowed. In fact, the government should look into it and be like, bro, there's some corruption going on. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the craziest thing to me, that I don't understand how boxing works like that. Where it's just like, bro, I know this is quote unquote like an exhibition match, I guess. But you cannot come to an agreement for the future when you don't know what's going to happen here. Like, for instance, Tyson Fury could have got knocked out. He could have broken his hand. Francis Ngannou could have thrown an elbow. Hell, he could have beat Tyson Fury. He did beat Tyson Fury. So what does that mean? Francis Ngannou is going to fight Alexander Usyk next? So what I'm saying is you can't predict the future. Man, shout out to Dewey Cooper for training Francis Ngannou. I know everyone's want to give Mike Tyson the credit, but I saw Mike Tyson over there as a fan sitting down next to Cristiano Ronaldo and the kings and the prince of Saudi Arabia. But I saw Cooper. He was working the corner. So shout out to him, man. If I'm not mistaken, he used to train. Was it Sergey Kovalev? I think it's like one of those Russians that he used to train, but he was pretty good. But shout out to Francis Ngannou, man, because not only did he knock down Tyson Fury and beat Tyson Fury, his stamina held up. The dirtiness of Tyson Fury with the grappling, Francis Ngannou was spitting off of it. It was incredible to see that. This is one of the things that I want to go right before I get to the talking points of Francis versus Tyson Fury. A lot of these MMA guys, even if we go back to Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor did exceptionally well against Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather shouldn't have taken that fight as, oh, boxing is superior than MMA or UFC. In fact, I thought Conor McGregor held his own. Yes, he did gas out, but he's going up against her on one of the best defensive fighters that the sport of boxing has to offer. And he landed a beautiful slip uppercut in the second round. It was amazing. Obviously, he was larger than Floyd, extremely longer, taller, but he did great. These MMA fighters, these UFC fighters, this crossover promotion, eventually one of these boxers is going to get beat. Because I don't know if it's going to be Sean O'Malley beating Devin Haney, right? Or that guy Strickland that just beat Stylebender. But these guys, I mean, they, for the majority of the time, unless they're great grapplers, they have pretty good strike game, right? They start off boxing and then they start wrestling down at the mats. Anyway, most of them punch relatively good, except Nate Diaz. That guy, I don't know, he boxes like a guy that watches too much YouTube fights. It's crazy. I don't understand how he can. And he was putting hands on Jake Paul. But one of the things that I want to start off and probably conclude this section is these UFC fighters or MMA fighters or even misfits fighters like Jake Paul and company, they're starting to close the gap and they're taking themselves very serious. And even arrogant fans like myself, these boxers are extremely arrogant and they're just looking to, pimp out the system and find a little niche where they can exploit the market. But while they're just hungry, like money hungry, these MMA fighters are actually training with the best professional boxing trainers, having great sparring, and they're actually taking themselves serious, right? Because at least what my football coach used to say, right? Everywhere you go, anytime that you wear that football jersey, right? This is when I was playing high school football. You represent not only your team, but your family and your last name, not just yourself. It's the whole nucleus. And these MMA fighters have a lot of pride. At the end of the day, there's this competition. If you know how to fight, you know how to fight. You don't necessarily have to be the greatest boxer, but you can see the potential of a person that has great hands, great hand speed, and has an understanding of knowing how to compete. These MMA fighters, they know how to fight. They're athletes. They're competitive. They're used to getting punched in the face. So for me, I've always seen MMA fighters to make a very simple transition to boxing because boxing, I'm not saying boxing is not tough, but it's a very simple science, right? It's the easiest form of combat that one has to, and like very easy to learn in terms of throwing straight punches. Now, to be a master at it and to perfect your craft, well, just like anything in life, that takes time and experience and repetition, discipline and training, obviously. But in terms of boxing, you don't have to worry about kicks, elbows, wrestling maneuvers, submission. It's just chin tucked down, hands up, don't close your eyes, and block. And then the ability to survive. Boxing is very simple. It's a very simple science. Another thing is, excuse me, I haven't had my coffee. Need to, caffeine to clear out the throat. Another thing is, at least most of the MMA crossover fights, like McGregor, these guys are used to 5-minute rounds. Their stamina should never really be a problem because In boxing, it's 3-minute rounds, a rest, 3 minutes, and you barely competed. You did 2 rounds versus 1 in MMA, 6 minutes to 5. So that 25-minute of in competition for MMA fighters, their stamina should almost be superior that to a boxer. Because not many boxers, unless you're like the smaller little fighters like Juan Manuel Marquez, Rafael Marquez, Israel Vasquez, they're not really going to throw 1,000 punches. Only like the Leo Santa Cruz of the world. Canelo ain't going to throw 1,000 punches. So you don't really have to worry about that work rate. Look at the heavyweights. Look at fucking last night. Francis Ngannou threw 400 punches. Tyson Fury, who is the greatest heavyweight in modern time, I suppose, also threw 400 punches. Yo, what's going on, Vince? Need stamina in boxing if it goes to the later rounds. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, like you have 12 rounds, right? Times 3, that's 36 minutes, you know, plus 1 minute each round. So 48 total minutes of mental focus. But in MMA, it's 30. So it's really not that much. But yeah, that was Tyson Fury's game plan, was to, well, I don't know what his game plan was, man, because I didn't really see him. He look, last night I saw Francis Ngannou. He looked like he was the heavyweight WBC champion. His stamina was superb. His punches were precise. They were crisp. They were fast. They were strong. He looked to be in condition. Tyson Fury was grappling, huffing and puffing. He was sloppy. You know, he looked fucking terrible. That was embarrassing for boxing and boxing fans. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna go that route. But it was embarrassing for Tyson Fury, man. Like, for instance, look at this. I'm gonna show you guys this. This does not look like the face of a guy who won that fight last night. Let's watch it again. Look at that, man. He's got a black eye on his left side of his face. His head is down. His body language just reads, man, this was embarrassing. I got my ass beat today. Look at his wife, Paris. Typically, you would hear Tyson Fury, oh, hail the king, madam the king. You know, he'd be singing and shit. He wasn't singing yesterday because he fucking lost. That Mexican referee, Bernardo Silva, nah, I'm just joking. I don't even know what his name was, but he should be ashamed of himself. He should have easily given that fight, right, to El Guerrero, Francis Ngannou. Tyson Fury, it was fucking embarrassing. His boxing ability, his timing, his speed was horrible, man. It was horrible. But I did hear you say the UFC fighters should be on par. Yeah, you're right. Maybe the older you get, Fury knew it could have gone either way. Yeah, man. I think because boxing this year has been amazing, right? Even last year, even 2021, when Canelo became undisputed, the past 3 years, boxing has been incredible. And yesterday's fight, surprisingly, was pretty good. Boxing should have done the right thing and taught these boxers enough of the shenanigans, get down to fucking creating history and cementing legacy. They should have given that fight to Francis Ngannou, because for his first fight, guys, Francis Ngannou dropped and went 10 rounds, right? He went 10 rounds with Tyson Fury, a guy with 35 professional boxing matches. This was Francis Ngannou's professional debut. That's fucking insane. One of the things that I give Jake Paul a lot of props for, and I've said it in the countless videos in the past, a lot of my local fighters and fighters that I grew up do not have the power, let alone could knock out UFC legends. Hell no. Like, I'm going to just throw out some names. My homie Ruben Villa, he would not be able to knock out Tyron Woodley. But Jake Paul did. That's not an easy thing to do, right? My homie Jorge Maravillo, he would not be able to knock out Tyron Woodley. And these guys have over, 40 to 200 amateur fights, let alone like 30 professional bouts together. They would not be able to sleep Tyron Woodley. In fact, the stage would be a little too big for these guys. The whole world watching, big ass MMA fighter making their pro debut. But Jake Paul possesses that strength. Woo! I don't know if you guys are watching that. Man, sorry. It's the Chicago and the Chargers, man. Asante Samuel Jr. He just made a diving interception. That was fucking sick. Sorry. Let me I got short attention span. Vince says, so that Fury fight was not for the title. To my knowledge, I believe the title was on the line. And I think Mauricio Suleiman, right, the owner or president of the WBC green title belt, I believe he even made a commemorative special belt to, galvanize that event. So I think the title was official on the line. But yeah, man, what's going on with you, Speed? Speed says, at Vince Vargas, good evening. Good even fall, sir. Good even fall. I never heard that one before. But yeah, man, that was a pretty entertaining bout. Before I go into more of the details of Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, the special, I don't know, the concert before the fight kicked off, that was nice to see. That was really good. It was very creative. I think they made us wait 30 minutes, but I like the lights. I like the show. I like the presentation. You got to see little baby. The stage came out and then it, went back in, and then down below they rose the ring from underneath. That was pretty dope, man. I extremely liked it. I liked it a lot. I don't know if it was Carol G or Becky G. She also sang, and her presentation and her music, that was pretty cool. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not too sure who the artists were, to be honest with you. But it was nice. It almost felt like, I don't know if you guys watched the Triller events when Jake Paul was fighting there at the time in the Fernando brothers, but they also had like rap concerts mixed in with the boxing ring. And that was pretty cool. I like when they do things like that. It just makes it for like for instance, I know there was only like rich people and like guests at that event, but like if I paid money to go to the event, I got to see a concert and boxing. Like that would make the night. You know what I'm saying? Warp Speed says, just enjoying the introduction of the homie. How was your weekend? He's talking to Vince. He ain't talking to me. He's not that polite to me. Nah, but yeah, I thought the fight was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked Francis Ngannou's skill. I could be wrong. But I thought he looked like a motivated Andy Ruiz. When I envisioned Andy Ruiz, I envisioned what I saw with Francis Ngannou fighting Tyson Fury. Staying calm, throwing a nice hard left hook. I think that's Andy Ruiz's best punch, that left hook. Throwing combination punches, the uppercut. Had Tyson Fury ever fought Andy Ruiz, I think Andy Ruiz would have a lot of success, but Andy would get in trouble because Tyson Fury likes to do illegal tactic moves, which is lean and hug on you. And Francis Ngannou knew how to fight off those clinches and create separation. Andy does not know how to do that because on the rematch versus Anthony Joshua leaned and hugged on top of Andy the whole night, and Andy did not know what to do. The difference of last night was Francis Ngannou, him being an MMA fighter, knowing how to grapple, he knew how to create distance and shrug, and sprawl away of those, long ass arms of Tyson Fury. That would be the only downfall of Andy, is that Tyson Fury would be able to tire him out and lean on him, lean all that 400 pounds on him and shit. That's the only problem that Andy Ruiz would have. But in terms of being sharp and throwing combination punches, Andy would easily, hit the big old whale, you know what I'm saying, of Tyson Fury. It's another thing, though. I think Francis Ngannou, besides having great power and great hand speed and great understanding of boxing and how to fight, if he continues to stay in the sport of boxing, which I hope he does, he could become a champion. Now, I'm not saying that he would be Alexander Usyk, but I mean, in my eyes, he's a champion. He won last night. That was a pretty interesting fight, man. That was a pretty interesting fight. I was watching a little bit going on to you know what, Speed? You kick it off, man. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this picture, man. Hold on, let me close this down real quick. Look at this picture. Oh, Shaquille Foster. Man, you're not even a fan of him, bro.
But fanaticism starts somewhere, homie Ricky. So I think it just started over the weekend. um, yeah, no, I can't say that that I've been a fan of them. Well, for the most part, the homie Ricky, I'm a fan of every individual who has the valor to step into the ring, the dedication to be there professionally and competitively. So why
Hold on,
wouldn't I
before
be?
you go, who did you think won that fight last night?
Okay, so I think it was a draw, or maybe Ngannou won it by one. But I was just going off of feel because I really wasn't scoring the fight, because like most everybody, I thought it was going to be a fight that Luke Tyson Fury would just carry for a few rounds, right? I thought that maybe he'd carry Francis Ngannou for a few rounds, make it exciting, and whenever he wanted to, just up and up the tempo, bring in the skills, and then just conquer his nemesis, his opponent. Um, it turned out, the homie Ricky, that that was not the case. So pretty much around the fourth round or so is when I started to score it, and then I had to recall what I thought happened in the first few rounds. Um, but I would say that Francis Ngannou, had he thrown a few more punches in the last round, it would have sealed a win for him. But he took off the 12th round off, and even the 11th. Um, in my opinion, I'm not completely opposed to the idea that Luke Fury may have convinced a couple of the judges on some of the corners where they may not have had the best vantage point to give him the win, to score it in his favor. What about you?
Just off body language alone, does that look like a man that won a fight? That looks like a man who's won the fight. He's a people's champ, right? Check this out, man. When you look at Dreamer says that was bullshit. Fury fucking lost, man. Boxing is rigged, always has been, and so has the rev judges and all the politicians. I agree, man. I agree. I hold that same sentiment, because you got to look at it like this. How can you come to an agreement before this fight even happens? How can
Hmm.
you already sign for the future? The fix
Uh
was
huh.
in. The fix was
Hmm.
in. It goes like this, man. Everybody, look, it was a close fight. It was a close fight. Let's say it's 6-6. Plus the knockdown, 6-5. The judges had it all close because it was a close fight. But you expect more. The expectation, right? It's as if we all know the movie Pulp Fiction. It's fucking legendary. One of the best films ever made in the modern era. Hell, one of the best films ever made in the history of cinema. Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. This whole time, many people have always wanted a Pulp Fiction part two. And let's say after 30 years, right? Because I think that movie came out in 1994. Let's say Quentin Tarantino surprised us with a secretive film. He doesn't give us the title. But upon going to the theaters, we realize it's Pulp Fiction 2. The expectation of a Quentin Tarantino film, the expectation of not naming it Pulp Fiction 2, when in reality, let's say we already know it's Pulp Fiction 2, and let's say the movie sucks, it's a failure, bro. Because the expectation is this guy makes great films. Pulp Fiction was an all-time classic. And then if you were to name it Pulp Fiction 2, and it sucks, people are gonna be like, bro, that's the worst film you've ever made because it didn't live up to expectation.
Hmm.
Tyson Fury last night was supposed to win by KO. He was supposed to be dominant because this is his profession. This is his ring.
Hmm.
Last night, he did not look like the ring general. Last night's body language alone did not look like a man who won.
Yeah.
People didn't celebrate him
Yeah.
for winning the fight. Tyson Fury himself did not sing "Come Save the Queen" or whatever goofy ass songs that he sings to his, beautiful wife in ringside. You understand what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? None
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
When he knocked out Wilder, give me that mic, Jim. He starts singing, and it's like 20, 30 minutes. Because he's enjoying his life as well he should. You didn't see none of that yesterday. Dreamer says, yes, close, but getting laid out always trumps close. I
Yeah.
agree. Man. The knockdown separated that action. I've heard the nickname, but not the last name of Caro. How was it?
Yeah.
So Vincent
So
responds to saying, I went down the rabbit hole watching Jesus Chiquito Haro fights the other night. I've actually never heard of that. What weight class? Do you know anything about that, Speed?
no, no, no. So he's responding right now. Mr. Vargas says, Haro Bros are from Merced. Jesus will be fighting at House of Champions. Great amateur career, WBC youth champion. Okay, that's
Okay.
great. So they're okay because Chiquita, I think I may have confused him for Chiquita. There was, if I'm not mistaken, a Mexican champion. His name was Chiquita, maybe Chiquita Gonzalez. So I thought it was him, but the last name just didn't resonate. So no, I guess it's some people that we may actually get the opportunity to be acquainted with, homie Ricky, if we decide to go to the House of Champions. That's awesome because it is good to reflect back on our past champions to know how our current fighters would fare against them. But I really don't like to compare because, again, different epochs, different ages, different customs. It just and really the fantasy of it all. This really a complete frivolous activity to try to compare our current fighters with ones in the past. Just different circumstances, right? Let things be what they may. But as far as what the way that you broke down that fight, homie Ricky, what the men looked like afterwards, yeah, Tyson Fury was a defeated man, a man with his head hung down, with his hat covering his brow, with his face bloodied and his eye blackened, while the other man looked unscathed and fresh, and everybody surrounding him, one cowering and almost running off uh, the 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 theater of war so that nobody would interview him, and the other one stayed to linger. That just in and of itself, just the whole symbolism of it says that the African Francis Ngannou, a man who has never professionally fought as a boxer under the rules of boxing, under its sanctioning bodies, that man, he beat who many people considered the greatest heavyweight of current era. For all that that man has done, which is beat Wilder 3 times or twice and drew with one, and beaten Klitschko, who was out of the door as soon as he and Anthony Joshua beat him. It's hard to really say that the man who walked down with his head hunched was the winner at the end. Um, but I'm still divided on everything, homie Ricky. Because see, here's the thing: I'm not a Tyson Fury fan, right? I actually never called him Tyson Fury. I call him by his first name. I call him Luke because he's never demonstrated the willingness to fight every comer there is, like the person that they nicknamed him after, which is Mike Tyson, right? And but we but there was so many odd things about what is happening now post fight. For example, the sanctioning bodies, if I'm not mistaken, there is a report spreading around that the sanctioning bodies, after having witnessed Francis Ngannou fight the way he did and made Tyson Fury look the way he did, that they're actually pushing him into the top 10 of some of their divisions. Now, as a person that's involved in the sport, who knows exactly how hard it is to climb up the ranks and make weight and fight and do everything you can to continue to stay on the top. I am a purist in the sense that nobody should cut the line. In fact, one of the things that breaks my heart, because it really points out my hypocrisy, is that me, as a big fan of Vasily Lomachenko, he had an opportunity to fight for a championship belt in 3 fights, which is definitely cutting the line, right? Now, Francis Ngannou fought a man who did not prepare for a fight. No matter what Tyson Fury says, that he prepared the hardest he's ever done, that he took this man serious, that he trained for 12 weeks for this man, you know that's bunk. Because everything Tyson Fury has ever said, he's never lived up to. He says one thing, does the opposite. And there is no way that Tyson Fury would come in 5 pounds, the heaviest he's ever been in his life. And you're going to tell me that he was prepared. That man rolled out of bed. He took his opponent not seriously. He figured this would be a cakewalk, but that does not mean that Francis Ngannou did not prepare himself to become a winner. That does not mean that Francis Ngannou is not a skillful fighter. He is not a boxer, right? The stance in MMA is different. The rounds and the duration of the rounds is different. The format is different. By default, the fights of MMA champions are what, 11, 12 minutes shorter than a professional fighters, and their fighting style is different. But here's the thing, homie Ricky, you touched on something that's very telling, right? MMA championship fights are 25 minutes max. Boxing fights are 36. So there's like a deficit of 11 minutes in MMA fights. Now, here's the thing though. In MMA, there's grappling, there's the ground and pound. And if they take ground and pound game, guess what? All of that is a bunch of weight of another man pressing on you, squeezing you, choking you out, and doing all those things, which is definitely going to affect your stamina, definitely going to wear you down, right? So it almost equals out. It almost equals out. So we cannot say that Francis Ngannou is not a capable enough fighter, and we can never say that an MMA fighter will never make the proper adaptation to a sport to become a competitor in the sport of boxing, because we just proved it. If the professional boxer takes a lax attitude towards his opponent, and the other fighter who may not be a boxer steps in the ring taking himself completely hard, we will be proven once again that hard work beats talent. And that's what we saw yesterday. And thank goodness for Francis Ngannou. But here's the thing, I do not approve of him taking the shortcuts by all these sanctioning bodies from all the people that have been paying their fees and their dues and waiting their turn just because Tyson Fury looked like a bum.
All righty. No, I understand. I understand your stance, but you have to look at it like this. While you might, okay, you said a couple of things, but first and foremost is this. You cannot say, and I'm not going to let you get away with saying, oh, Tyson Fury did not train. Because I'll tell you what, did he not go and compete 30 minutes last night? So he had to do some type of road work because his stamina held up, right? If a person doesn't train, they're gassed out. They take a knee. They're huffing and puffing. They quit. Tyson Fury was somewhat in good shape to compete for 30 minutes against a big-ass puncher, right? So I'm not going to say that he didn't train, right? Now, did he train his hardest? I mean, I don't know. I take those statements from people when they say, oh, I've had the best training camp. The weight cut has been easy this time. I hired a nutritionist. I've been very disciplined. I've trained for 15 weeks. All that, I take that with a grain of salt because it's derivative. Every fighter says this training camp has been my best, we can't take those notions for face value. But what I could take is Tyson Fury looked to have a lot of bounce to his step. So that lets me know he's in good condition. He was very good and responsive to Francis Ngannou's sequence of punches, his uppercuts, his left hooks, even the right hand over the top. Tyson Fury was aware of the whole fight. Now, there was a round, I think it was maybe the 8th or the 9th round, where Tyson Fury was trying to hold on for dear life. And Francis Ngannou would not allow him to. And he started throwing a lot of combinations. In fact, let me see on the highlights, see if I can locate that round. And it was amazing. Of course, it's ESPN, so they're going to give me shit highlights. But it was the 8th round. Let me screen share this real quick. It was in this round, the 8th round.
Separation, trying to drive down a right hand. There's a right hand.
And they start to exchange punches.
Francis standing his ground, solid, steady, determined, and willing to punch as he turns Fury.
And in that round, Tyson Fury looked gassed. I thought Francis Ngannou was going to drop him one more time. In fact, in that round, I don't think that happened, but it was very telling that those punches right there were they were dazing Tyson Fury and knocking out his equilibrium.
Can you show me that again, homie Ricky? Because that was
they were tempo shots. Let me show you.
Yeah.
There were a lot of tempo shots. And that was knocking down the equilibrium. I don't think it was that Tyson Fury was gassed out. I thought it more of his balance falling down and coming forward. Check left hook there, right hook there to the temple, pivots off, 1-2, right hook behind the head, left hook on the temple, right hook behind the head, and that's his dropping down his equilibrium.
So I'm not.
If Tyson Fury was weak and not responsive and not conditioned, he would have fallen down forward. So I can't let you get away with, oh, he didn't train his hardest. No, I believe he did train, but I don't think he trained at his optimal. But I do believe that he was, or that he trained good enough to be able to last basically, let's say, 12 rounds.
Look, yeah, did he throw punches at a punching bag? Yeah.
The reality was,
did he go at it with a strategy? No. Did he think he was? No. The homie Ricky, just because the guy last.
Check this out.
When has Tyson Fury ever had issues with stamina? He hasn't. That's one of his strengths. So he does, and we know he's blown up before in the weight. We know he's fought in hard 12-round fights before. We know he's good for it. So
Tyson
I don't
Fury
question his stamina. I'm talking about the preparation.
Tyson Fury yesterday gave us 3 game plans. And the first round, he went all out. The first punch that he threw was a hard-ass 1-2. Boom. And he missed. And he instantly, Francis Ngannou took it away. He landed like 2 or 3 little shots in between that big-ass 1-2. Boom. Boom, boom. Okay? The first round and the first 3 rounds, okay, sorry. Fury went all out in the beginning. He understand, like, damn, bro, Francis is pretty crafty. In the 3rd round, he threw a 1-2 that landed. Then he followed it up again with another 1-2, and he got hit with a check 3, and he fell down. That was his first game plan for the first half.
Yeah.
In between, let's say after that knockdown 4 to like 6, he started boxing off the back foot, started using that extreme long reach and using jabs, but he was very uncomfortable doing so, and I can almost say very ineffective, because a lot of those punches weren't really landed on Francis Ngannou. And when he did land the 2, Francis Ngannou took it well on the chin. There was also an elbow there. Another thing, that was the second game plan, to box and to weather the storm and to tire out the inexperienced, pro debut of an MMA fighter. The third game was, let me try to impose my weight on him.
Yeah.
Ngannou was twisting him, pivoting him, and getting underneath, and just, I'm not gonna let you hug me, bro. And
but you see, that's
he was pulling Tyson Fury forward, and Fury, because He's very heavy on top and very Bambi legs, weak ass legs at the bottom. He was stumbling all over his foot. His footwork was horrible. And that's mostly because Francis Ngannou was very strong from his grappling experience to just tuss him and pull him off of him, or control the whole body. It was amazing control and ring generalship on the behalf of Francis Ngannou. Like I said, MMA fighters overall should have the upper hand in boxers because they have more tools under their sleeve.
Exactly.
To compete. Boxers only have 2 punches, right? Straights, hooks, and uppercuts. I only have 2 hands. MMA fighters have to damn near worry about kicks, elbows, 12-6, grappling, submission. Fuck, dude. Sometimes flying knees and all that stuff. Boxers, they only got to worry about the simple science. It's not a complicated one, right? But, that's why you feint. That's why you try to put combinations. That's why you try to set up traps just to mask your true intentions. But I know, man, Francis Ngannou won that. He was the superior fighter and damn near every dynamic of it. And for a guy having his first amateur debut, or not amateur, but his professional debut, he looked like Lomachenko after a while.
Look, homie Ricky,
I don't know about that.
Look, the fact that Francis Ngannou won, in your eyes, and to tell you the honest truth, in mine also, or drew, in that fight, and the fact that I say that Tyson Fury did not take him serious, thus did not prepare himself well for this fight, is not to blight the win that should have been Ngannou's, because I always say, right, you have to live a fighter's lifestyle. This is the same reason why Terrence Crawford utterly destroyed Errol Spence Jr., because some of these guys are doing extracurricular activities instead of staying in the ring. Tyson Fury is traveling the world, making TV shows, making an ass of himself, training, working with his brother, doing all that fancy stuff that he's doing now that he's a global superstar. And that's okay and all.
But wait,
but
Canelo
all of that is
too, though. Canelo trains, he parties, he's got a fucking tequila, Viva Mexico cabrones, right? VMC. He fucking does NASCAR. He plays golf here in Pebble Beach. He does all this shit. But guess what?
But when he needs to train
3-4 months and boom.
But when he needs to train,
bro.
Look, when he needs to train, he will train. But if you put somebody, listen, let's say that, because Jake Paul has called out Canelo. If Jake Paul gets to fight Canelo, do you think Canelo is really gonna train as hard as if he was gonna fight and train for a Triple G fight or a Billy Joe Saunders fight? Exactly, and that's the same exact thing that Tyson Fury did. Listen, homie Ricky, it's this simple. Let me just boil it to you real quick. Tyson Fury has always been the taller, rangier, heavier fighter. Now listen, that's every single benefit in his favor that you want in a boxer.
He was
right?
taller than Ranger last night as well.
Exactly. And not only that, at this one, he's also the person that's accustomed to fighting in the boxing format. He had 4 different elements of benefit for himself. And he's fighting a person that's 2 years retired from the sport, 37 years of age, who has never fought in boxing ever before. There's no point of reference to use. You think he took that man serious? You must be joking, buddy. That man walked in there like Canelo would if he was gonna fight Jake Paul. That's the same exact thing. Now here's the thing, though.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing. Canelo never has to use. Canelo never has to use his height on his opponents. Why? Because he's always the shorter guy. He never has to use his reach on his opponents. Why? Because he's always the shorter limbed individual. Right? The only thing that you can say is that he has the experience and he might have the weight on some of his fighters, right? Because he's had catch weights before, but otherwise he's always the man with the deficit, the opposite of Tyson Fury. That's why, irrespective of how Tyson Fury approached this fight, Canelo will always take it a little more serious. Why? Because he's living the fighter's lifestyle. Just because he takes a little break to swing a couple of golf clubs or make a couple of more billions selling liquor does not mean he's not hustling. But you cannot tell me that if Canelo shows up looking like Homer Simpson, the heaviest he's ever weighed in, you're gonna tell me that he's taking himself seriously? Absolutely not, homie Ricky.
Listen, you just said a whole bunch of nothing, bro. Whole bunch of nothing. Look, has not the whole world said, oh, that Canelo looks shot? Oh, he's a former self. Hasn't everybody said that? Because he's, I don't know, doing 14 hours playing golf in Pebble Beach. Look, man, your approach.
No, they're saying that because he's peaked.
Relax. Your approach has been wrong, okay? Check this out. Because you said a whole bunch of nothing. You really made me lose my train of thought. Tyson Fury.
You had a train of thought.
Hold on. Tyson Fury has never been a big puncher. He knocked out Bambi Legs and Deontay Wilder, right? But if we look back at Tyson Fury, bro, his whole resume, this is the same guy that gave us the boringest fight against Klitschko. You can't even go watch that because that has no replay value, okay? Tyson Fury has always been overrated and has sucked. I've always told you this. The American heavyweight division scene and the UK boxing division scene is extremely overrated. I've said this for like the last 20 years, right? Wilder only has a great right cannon, but everything else, he sucks. His footwork is terrible. I mean, he had a good jab against Bermane Stiverne, and then I guess he lost it in that same fucking fight because he refused to throw a jab ever since then. Tyson Fury got knocked down by Satan, right? Tyson Fury was never a big puncher. He upsetted, I guess if you want to call that, and beat Vladimir Klitschko or Wladimir. I don't know if it was Vitaly or Wladimir. It doesn't matter. But it was the boringest heavyweight fight you will ever seen. A fucking hug fest.
Vladimir.
Okay? A hug fest.
Vitaly had already retired.
1-2, didn't really land many 1-2s and then just hugged.
Yeah.
Like he does his whole career.
Yeah.
Okay? Tyson Fury is only known for destroying and beating and knocking out and defacing, right? Brutally marring the face of Deontay Wilder, right? That's all he's known for. He struggled with Otto Wallin, and then he ended up fighting Derek Chisora and some Dylan White, a bunch of UK, like, I'm not gonna be disrespectful. Tough fighters. But Dylan White is a cheater. He's failed drug tests 3 times. Derek Chisora, bro, that's my dog. I love his fighting spirit. I got nothing but respect for him. Okay? But we know he's never been a champion, never will be. But he's got some skills and he can bang. And he's always going to train his hardest to give the fans a very good fight for his limited amount of, of boxing skills, right? Chisora. He's a fucking warrior, like a Gabriel Sato. Amazing fighter. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to disrespect him. That's all Tyson Fury's career.
I guess 35. I guess 35 fights won and 25 by knockout doesn't matter, right?
The biggest problem that we all did here is that we put Tyson Fury on a pedestal as, one of the pillars and the faces of boxing just because he beat Deontay Wilder, right? That's the only reason why he's even in this situation with Francis Ngannou. Because we know, and we talked about this in the weeks past, up until this fight, the reason why he took Francis Ngannou first, because Usyk stands a very good chance of beating him. And if he were to lose to Usyk, this Francis Ngannou fight does not happen. So he took the Francis Ngannou paycheck first, like Usyk's promoter here says in this Boxing Scene article. Tyson Fury's performance, he was arrogant, lack of discipline, and thirst for money. Your approach is, oh, he didn't train hard. I'm telling you, he trained extremely hard because he was able to go 30 rounds and took a lot of big shots from a powerful man. His thirst for money is key, and his arrogance. He thought, like most boxing fans, even including myself, because I am arrogant. Yo, I got an echo. But anyway,
I haven't even said nothing.
No, no, there was an echo. I was hearing myself like 3, 4
Oh,
times.
okay. Yeah, look, homie Ricky, I get all that. Look, if you're gonna tell me that a fighter with a record of 35 fights and 25 knockouts is not a powerful fighter, I don't know what is. You probably think there's a fighter out there with 100 knockouts. Guess what?
Yeah,
There is.
Serbia.
Better BF, yeah. But he only has
Serbia
18
Ortiz.
fights. He only has 18 fights. This guy has double the fights. Here's the thing, homie Ricky. It's simple. It's simple, right? Everything that you said can still apply with the same ideology, the same philosophy, the same explanation. I mean, that I am providing. Who cannot say that Tyson Fury can take the easiest fight for the most money while ducking his opponent for an undisputed fight and Alexander Usyk, and still not come in willing to give it all? Why would he? His belt was not on the line. You see, here's the thing, homie Ricky. Even if, wait, listen, because this was one of the questions that our listener Vince Vargas asked of you, and you did not give him a definitive answer. The WBC belt, which is what Tyson Fury holds, Luke Tyson Fury holds, was not subject to be disputed. There was no way that Francis Ngannou was going to strip him of the championship belt, because this was a non-sanctioned WBC fight. That was a 10-rounder. We know that 10-round fights cannot be for belts. This was all a money grab. So win or lose, Tyson Fury walks off with the bag and he keeps the belt. And all he does, basically, at most, if Francis beats him, is he looks like a clown, creates a lot of controversy, and we know controversy sells. And guess what? They have another winner in Francis Ngannou. Who has dibs to Francis Ngannou, may you ask? Frank Warren, the manager and the promoter, of Luke Fury. Luke Fury and those that manage and promote him were all gonna win, irrespective of who won. He was gonna fight, and it gets worse, homie Ricky.
We get all that, but
Wait, it gets worse though. It gets worse. There was a rematch clause for this fight. So what I'm trying to tell you though,
so that's what
is
I'm
this.
trying to tell you. If the belt is not on the line, therefore Tyson Fury's legacy isn't on the line, then give the fucking decision to Francis Ngannou, double down on the rematch, put the belt officially on the line, have Tyson Luke Fury actually train properly, like your stance, and then double down on a second paycheck.
No, so see, this is where I'm ahead of you. The WBC's Mauricio Suleiman said the next fight is gonna be against Alexander Usyk. He's mandated that. There is no rematch clause. The rematch clause was only if Tyson Fury lost. So now, having officially won, irrespective of the fact that it may have sold well, irrespective of the fact that the Saudi Arabians went crazy on spending for this event, irrespective of all of that, he has to fight Alexander Usyk. So we can cuddle that other crap. We can talk about this and that. He has to fight the Ukrainian now.
Okay, but that does not substantiate your point at all.
Look, homie Ricky. It's like this. Do you remember that Tyson Fury took? Do you know that Tyson Fury was knocked down at the hands of Deontay Wilder? Can you tell me what other fighter? Wait up. Can you tell me what other fighter? Can you tell me one other fighter that has been knocked down and gotten up from a Wilder right hand?
Yeah, King Kong Ortiz.
He got stopped.
Yeah, I know, but he got in the first fight, he got dropped, I believe, like 3 times.
Okay, great, but he got stopped, right?
Yeah,
you know who didn't? Fury never gotten stopped. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something else. Who hits harder? In your opinion, let me ask you, in your opinion, in your estimation, who is going to be a harder puncher in boxing? Is it going to be Francis Ngannou or Deontay Wilder?
I don't know.
You know the answer to this.
Dude,
you know,
would say obviously Deontay Wilder, but I gotta see it to believe it. Throw in Francis Ngannou with Wilder. Look, bro, who cares about Wilder? Okay.
No, because this I'm trying to prove to you. I'm trying to prove to you.
over 36 rounds or close to 36 rounds to knocking out Tyson Fury. And he failed to do so, knocking him out, not knocking him down, because he dropped him about 5 times. But
Because Fury is an excellent fighter.
He had close to 30 rounds to knock him out, to knock him spark out, and he couldn't do it.
Because he's an excellent fighter.
Okay, so what I am trying to say is this. When you involve the WBC and how he's mandating, that does not substantiate the point of why Francis Ngannou won the fight. It just lets me know, again, that the fix is in. Look, bro, what I'm trying to say is this. It's pretty simple, right? Francis Ngannou, yesterday, I keep thinking it's Monday, but he completely shocked the world. He shocked Tyson Fury. Because Tyson Fury, like most boxing fans, I don't care about this fight. I'll watch it, but I probably won't pay for it. We were all arrogant. We were thinking, man, this is another Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather cash grab. You know, this doesn't mean nothing. We want Fury. We want Usyk. But what happened was Francis came to the plate, and he had skill. Not just skill on one hand like Wilder, the right hand. Bro, this guy can fight southpaw. He had a good two when he switched in the southpaw stance. His left hand is stronger and more coordinated than his right hand. He threw a Superman punch. Wilder has never thrown a Superman punch. When he knocked out Bermane Stiverne, he did a little side to side and then threw a wild-ass uppercut that kind of missed, and then the left hook, and blah, you know, he went Alabama Slammer, just blah, you know, just throwing some wild punches, and Bermane Stiverne got folded backwards like a chair. Look, man, Francis Ngannou, he's a two-armed fighter, a disciplined, coordinated two-hand fighter. Overall, he's got better skills and understanding of boxing than Deontay Wilder. Now, to your question, who is the better, harder hitter in the boxing circle? Yeah, I'm going to give it to Wilder because he's got like fucking 40, you know, like a 95% knockout ratio. Right? But that does not mean that Francis Ngannou does not possess the same amount of Alabama power that Wilder does, man.
And he also has a very good chin.
Got a very good chin. He's got good footwork. He's not going to let you grapple you, so he's got good inside game. All he needs is more time on his hands. Oh, this Francis.
Yeah, but 37. But again, homie Ricky, I did start off by pointing out the fact that Francis Ngannou is a capable fighter. He's a great puncher. In fact, I think one of the reasons why he's lauded and regarded so highly in MMA, and the reason why anybody took him serious as a novice in boxing is because of his history of being a knockout artist. The guy came from nowhere except poverty, and he became himself the biggest puncher in UFC history, or one of them, right?
Cameroon.
Against Cameroon.
Yeah, I think so. No.
Oh, I don't know. But nonetheless, he was a very devastating puncher. Now, I did accredit him as a very great fighter in MMA.
I've not ever watched one of his MMA fights.
And I also did tell you what up. And I also did tell you, and like you also pointed out, MMA skills and the tactics in it lend themselves to providing you with a proficiency at boxing. All you have to do is just change a couple of things, jab differently for the most part, and stand differently, and you'll be all right. Right? The stance is different than in boxing, but remember, he also had Mike Tyson to teach him the basics. Now,
no, he had Dewey Cooper.
And now the other thing, homie Ricky, is this. This is the sport of a puncher's chance, right? I always tell my son. We were talking about it as we were coming back from our bike ride today, which actually didn't happen because he forgot the front wheel of his bike. So we showed up over there. We were all happy that we were gonna get together and a bike, and then he brings down his bike. And his face turns all red, and I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "I forgot the front tire."
That boy's filthy, man.
We drove like 15 miles out there, and we were unloading, and then he says, "I forgot the front tire," and I was like, "Okay, you know what? I'm tired anyway, so I could go to sleep earlier." Nonetheless, okay. Long story short, when we were driving back, we were discussing this fight, and I told him, "Look, son, hard work will always beat talent. Tyson Fury is talented. Tyson Fury has all the physical advantages to beat all of his opponents. But if he doesn't take himself serious and the other guy believes in himself and he takes himself serious, this is, at the end of the day, a puncher's chance." And I told my son, even though you are a boxer, anybody on the street, if they hit you with a good punch, they could beat you. They could knock you out because this is the puncher's chance. Now, how are you going to tell me that one of the best, heaviest handed fighters in UFC history wouldn't have a puncher's chance? Especially if, in my estimation, the guy who's the professional takes him lightly. Why? Because Tyson Fury is historically a liar. He's a cheater. He's a
Wait,
scam. He's
no
a
one
con
said
artist.
he didn't have a puncher's chance. Everyone, bro, that's not the argument. The
No,
argument
what I'm trying to tell you is that
is
this is gonna happen. The
Ngannou won that shit, bro.
Look, what I'm trying to tell you is these things will no, and who cares if he won? Like, I'm not trying to question that. Just because of what I'm saying, you're not supposed to interpret it as me questioning whether Francis Ngannou won. I'm just trying to tell you why these things happen, why it is that Francis Ngannou, in my eyes, won. And I'm telling you, it has to do with A, Francis Ngannou believing in himself and training hard, and B, the naturally gifted, talented, longer professional didn't take himself seriously, or his opponent, right?
Okay, so
Same
hold
thing
on.
with.
This whole time, that's not what you said.
That's
This
what I said, but you're
no,
listening to some
no,
other stuff.
no. This whole time, you've been trying to justify the WBC fuck. You've been telling me nothing but the politics and nothing about the fight.
No, no, no,
You've
no.
been
What
trying
the
to
reason I try
hold
to
on,
tell you those
hold
things,
on.
homie Ricky?
This is my interpretation of what you said. Like 10 minutes ago, you just literally just told me that Mauricio Suleiman in the WBC didn't have this belt. It wasn't a title fight. It was basically an exhibition. And, the fight, he mandated Alexander Usyk to fight him X, Y, and Z in December. He cannot fight this rematch clause because he's going to get stripped of the belt. That's what you're trying to tell me. So you're just trying to tell me the reason why Fury won was because a fix was in. There's a fight already scheduled with Usyk to become undisputed. The Saudis wanted it. This was just an appetizer for people and to promote the fight. Basically, what
No,
you're trying to tell me is you're
no,
justifying it and then let it be.
no, homie Ricky. No, this is.
Hold on. Like I said before, listen. Fury trained hard. Okay, he trained hard. In fact, he used this fight to get him back into the competitive spirit because I believe, right, that Tyson Fury, as we all know, he likes to eat. He likes to balloon up in weight. This is like his appetizer to get back into the gym and back into the flow of competing and sparring. So this was like supposed to be the easy touch. Little did he find out, man, bruh, I shouldn't have taken this not lightly, but I should have been much more serious about this shit. I shouldn't just looked at this as a cash grab because this other dude, he's actually got something to prove. You see what I'm saying? Fury came here again with his arrogance. He still trained. He still sparred. I don't know who was his sparring partners. Maybe MMA fighters. Maybe Joseph Parker. But the undercard consisted of a lot of heavyweights. Fabio Wardley versus, I don't know, I forgot what the other guy's name. Joseph Parker fought this dude, I believe from Canada, Keene. So I'm pretty sure those were Tyson Fury's sparring partners in preparation for Francis Ngannou. So I'm not gonna let you.
Wait, how are you gonna say you're pretty sure,
Fuckery. So that's the reason why he won. And
homie Ricky? How are you gonna say you're pretty sure?
Look, Francis Ngannou, he fought the best version of Tyson Fury because this Fury of yesterday was the same one that we seen pummel Deontay Wilder.
Look, homie Ricky, if you want to believe that, that's perfectly fine. We're gonna agree to disagree. We're gonna agree to disagree right here. That we're just gonna have to end it at that. End this part because I see it differently. And if you're not able to see the grand scheme of things, that's on you. Because it's simple. What I'm trying to tell you. What I'm trying to tell you is that you're thinking too small.
Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury knows it because when
No.
he walked out of the ring, he did not sing to his wife, and he walked out of the ring with his head down.
Look,
That
It's because,
motherfucker.
see,
Knows, bruh.
this is the reason why, Tyson Fury is the grandest manipulator, because he makes you and others think that that means anything. Tyson Fury doesn't care about how you perceive him.
Yes, he
Tyson Fury
does.
doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he
Yes,
doesn't.
he does.
Because he's always done the opposite of what you've wanted. You see what I'm saying?
That's what you think.
No,
Listen,
that's why he never takes the fights people want. He
Tyson
moves his
Fury
own
is
way.
now
He moves his own way. He says everything that you want to hear, and he does the opposite. The fact that you saw him bow his head, it's enough for you to convince yourself that he feels bad about it. When he probably walked away with $30 million, knowing
whoa,
that
whoa, hold
his
on, hold on.
belt with,
Again,
listen, you're not, look, you're trying to interrupt me, but I'm trying to explain it to you in simple terms.
it's
The guy
nonsense.
made multi millions without having exposed his belt to risk of being stripped on him. He just created controversy. Controversy sells, and Frank Warren, his promoter, now has a star in his hands, and Francis Ngannou. You see what I'm saying? Who just cut the line in front of everybody for whoever they want. And in fact, it's working, because guess who opened up his mouth and wants a Francis Ngannou fight? Eddie Hearn wants Anthony Joshua to fight Francis Ngannou. You see what I'm saying? You're looking at the little stuff. You're looking at, oh, Tyson Fury lost. How did he lose again, homie Ricky? Did his belt get stripped? No. Was his belt ever gonna get stripped? No. Did he make pocket change? Nope. Did he laugh in the world's face? Yup. Why? Because Tyson Fury does whatever he wants. Simple.
Again, bro, that's nonsense. I don't care about none of that. Okay, you just said that's not even boxing related talk, bro.
This was never boxing. That's the point. This was never supposed to be boxing, bro. This was
Listen,
an exhibition.
listen, you're telling me as if
Oh
you're
my
thinking
God.
like you're a manager, a matchmaker, and the promoter and seeing the big picture. You're talking about, oh, the reveal behind the big curtain. The shit I don't care about. I'm talking about the actual fight. Okay? I don't care what the WBC and the Saudi Arabia's they have planned for Usyk and Fury, and this is the promotion build up. I don't care, bro. I don't care. Oh, Francis Ngannou is now the second biggest heavyweight name, and Joshua's lined up. Deontay Wilder wants to fight him. Malik Shaw, or they're already in preliminary talks. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm talking about the fight, bro. I don't listen. Tyson Fury. You said something about he does whatever he wants. You said that that's why he don't give us the fights that we want, and that's why he does whatever it is, essentially what he wants. Listen, none of that is true. I'm gonna tell you why. Many years ago, maybe a decade ago,
Oh
he used to
God.
run his mouth about the Jewish community, and he was talking about the Zionists. And then this is essentially why there was like, I don't know, a conspiracy to strip him. And he was saying, "Oh man, I never failed a drug test," and he wanted to rematch Klitschko. And then he played AWOL, right? He left to the United States. He left the UK. He got banned for like 2-3 years. I don't even know if he's got license to fight there still, right? Because he ran his mouth and started talking about the bigger picture. The same nonsense that you're talking about. Now, Tyson Fury is just a puppet. Someone is telling him to do these things. He's like, hey, you know
Oh
what?
God.
As long as I give my 20 to 50 million, exactly. Oh my God. Everything that you're saying sounds ridiculous to me.
Homie
What I
Ricky,
am
you are.
talking about is the
Look,
fight.
I know
I don't
this is
care
your
about
trademark.
hold on. Listen. I don't care if Frank Warren has another star in his hands. I don't really care. I don't care to see Joshua versus Ngannou. You know why? Because I'd rather watch Andy Ruiz versus Joshua Part 3. Okay? I would rather watch Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. I care about boxing, not the shenanigans and the business behind it. Because, like you said, these guys made not pocket change or small change. They made 20 million plus. Did I get a cut of that? So I don't give a fuck about the business aspect. Okay?
And look, homie Ricky, if you care about it, look, that's fine and
Listen,
all, bro. That's fine and
You're
all.
holding up my
Just
blood
because I
pressure.
point
You're
out,
holding up my blood pressure. I'm gonna go
look.
across the street. You can hold it down. Please don't make me start talking. Please,
Oh
honestly.
God. All right. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm just fucking with you, man.
Yeah. All right. All right. All
Sorry,
right.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. 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 Go across the street. Take a breather. Go do your thing. Uh, Beloved listeners, ladies and gentlemen of war and the fanaticism of war, everything that I said today is not to be construed or misinterpreted in a way that you're supposed to take my words and interpret it as if I justify the chicanery, the shenanigans, the tomfoolery. I absolutely do not approve of anything that happened over the weekend regarding Luke Fury fighting Francis Ngannou. But just because I point out that the fight was tomfoolery, that it was a cash grab, that regardless of what the outcome was, which I believe Francis Ngannou won, that Tyson Fury was never gonna lose in any way whatsoever. Just because I point that out is just to be realistic and to show you the grand scheme of things. If you guys don't care about what happened, like the homie Ricky doesn't care because he only wants to watch Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk and Deontay Wilder fight Anthony Joshua. If you don't care because that's what you want, you absolutely have to care because that's what you're not gonna get. You see, the fact that Tyson Fury just helped create another monster in this sport, in a sport that's slowly dying and shedding viewers and fans, a sport that is shedding broadcast partners. In that sport, we've just introduced an individual that does not belong in it because he's never toiled, never labored, and never paid his dues to participate in the sport. As as great as Francis Ngannou performed last night, the man should not cut in front of every other fighter that's been waiting their turn for the shot at Tyson Fury or uh, Zile Zhang or Alexander Usyk. He should never get that just because he made Tyson Fury the charlatan, the deceiver, the gypsy look bad because the gypsy was never gonna lose, right? And in fact, everything that just happened last night is gonna upend all the plans of all the fights we wanted to see. The homie Ricky says he doesn't care what happened. He just cares about the fight. Okay, let's keep it simple. In my eyes, Francis Ngannou won by 1 round, or had a draw with Tyson Fury, which means Tyson Fury could have also drawn or he could have won because 1 point is no big difference, right? Depending on your vantage point in the ring, you can actually see some punches land whereby you can't others. So you might just score the fight in the favor of one fighter over the other. That's why I never get too crazy about the scores because everybody sees and has certain proclivities for certain things in the sport. Whatever. But if you really care about what happened last night, which is, oh, I want Tyson Fury to lose, is not gonna do anything with the grand scheme of things, which is Tyson Fury and Frank Warren and Queensbury, those British uh, players in this grand sport of boxing at the heavyweight division, are now gonna make it so that Anthony Joshua will not fight Deontay Wilder because Anthony Joshua's promoter now wants Anthony Joshua to fight Francis Ngannou. And the only reason why Alexander Usyk will be able to face Tyson Fury is because the WBC, who granted Tyson Fury an ability to go for a cash grab 10 rounder without putting the spell on the line, said they have to. Why? Because the WBC is going to get a lot of sanctioning fees from both of the fighters once that undisputed fight happens, right? It's a whole lot of shenanigans. I really want to move on to other things because I'm not a big fan of Tyson Fury. I think he's a skillful fighter, probably capable of beating everybody. I mean, he has the physical attributes and skill sets. He definitely has the stamina, the movement, and he's able to carry his body well. As homie Ricky has stated before, he's he has the modern, he could be the modern Muhammad Ali, right? Unfortunately, he doesn't have the bravery of that man. But let's just move on to other things. Most recently, that we had over the weekend, Amanda Serrano fight Danila Ramos. Amanda Serrano being a Puerto Rican from the island of Puerto Rico. I believe she lives in New York. May have been born and raised in New York, but moved to the island. Now fighting under Most Valuable Promotions, which is a company pertaining to Jake Paul. She fought Danila Ramos in Argentinian or Brazilian, now living in Argentina or vice versa. And this was promoted as a very significant fight because of the fact that these fighters were in defiance of the WBC, who's again the company, the sanctioning body who just allowed this Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou fight to happen. That corrupt company, they allowed, they went in defiance of them because the WBC says that women cannot fight over 10 rounds and no more than 2 minutes each round because they have physical disadvantages to men, including cranial structure and size and other mumbo jumbo things. And they've always hindered the women's ability to thrive and become a more violent version of the sport because those rounds go by too quick and the fight is just shorter lived. Men fight longer in each round, and men fight more rounds in each round. Now, if I wanted to, I could be like, oh, that's reverse sexism. Why are we subjecting our men to more punishment than the women? Why do you favor women over men? Right? But I'm not that guy. I want more violence. So when women wanted to fight as long as men, I said, go for it. You guys are going to provide us more violence. There's going to be more blood. There's going to be more knockdowns, hopefully, because women are going to tire out. And this fight, which took place in Florida, I think Pensacola, Florida, on Friday, was the test on whether 12 3-minute rounds were the difference on how to make the women's sport more exciting. More excitement would mean the women's side of the sport would be more appreciated by the fans overall because now they were more violent and provide more action, which would open up doors for more recompense and fame. And I don't think that's exactly what happened, right? Yes, we did watch Amanda Serrano fight Danila Ramos for 12 rounds and 3 minutes each round. Was there more knockouts? No. Was there more blood? No. Did they tire out? Not any more than they have in prior fights. In fact, it looked like any other Amanda Serrano fight, which was action packed, always coming forward, throwing a lot of punches. Their fighters, their opponents of Amanda Serrano coming back and fighting and putting a good count of themselves for as much as it could, and then Amanda Serrano would take over, and that was it. But that did not happen. Danila Ramos boxed excellently off the back foot, countered well, had a good couple of angles, pot shotted very well, brought some action, did some good combos. Not enough for the victory, but nonetheless, the fight did not live up to the expectations that most viewers thought would happen. It was a typical violent affair. Now, one of the reasons why this fight was significant was because a lot of people said that when Amanda Serrano fought Katie Taylor, the first fight, had the rounds been 3 minutes each, Amanda Serrano would have knocked down or knocked out the Irish lady. And if you look back into the very first fight, yes, the very first fight had Katie Taylor at the last few seconds of the 2 minute rounds, badly hurt and stumbling all over. But then, of course, Miss Katie Taylor, the queen of boxing, she gathered her wits, came back re energized, reanimated, and fought valiantly. And it was just a back and forth, uh, one of the best fights of last year, easily one of the best fights of last year. And in general, one of the most exciting fights in recent years in the sport of boxing. Now, if this fight was supposed to prove that Katie Taylor would have been knocked out at the hands of Amanda Serrano had the fight been set as challenging and as long lasting as the men's, it did not live up to it. This was not the test. This was not the evidence for it. And in fact, I would venture and say that Danila Ramos should have been knocked out at the hands of Amanda Serrano. Why? Because Amanda Serrano has for at least almost 2 years talked about fighting for 12 3 minute rounds. What does that mean? That means she's preparing for a fight like that. Danila Ramos, a fighter that only has 15 bouts under her name now, which means that she's only fought uh, half of, not even half of the fight, like about a quarter of the fights that Amanda Serrano has had, somehow lasted that long against a heavy-handed, technically skilled fighter in Amanda Serrano, who has 4 times the experience, especially in championship fights. She's been a division champion in 7 weight classes. And Danila Ramos looked very good and capable. Now, if we take that, I would say you put Katie Taylor and Danila Ramos together. I say Katie Taylor beats her. Does that mean Amanda Serrano beating Danila Ramos knocks out Katie Taylor? No, we don't know. Maybe Katie Taylor gives her, the Puerto Rican, 3 minutes of hell back. We don't know what happens. But I am here to say that the fight on Friday did not prove much in the sport of boxing. That all it did was prove that yes, women can last 12 rounds. Yes, women can last 3 minutes each round. But did the whole beef, the whole dynamic of the fight itself change? No. In fact, I did see Amanda Serrano tire out towards the ninth, 10th, and 11th, 12th round. You saw that she was hanging her arms low. Her jab was starting to lose any kind of speed and compunction, and her opponent was still able to take those punches and was starting to come back even heavier towards the end, right? So we can almost say that Amanda Serrano retains the power and speed and the advantage in 10 2 minute rounds because she gets to max out for 2 minutes for shorter time, which gives her enough power and enough energy to look so dominant. But yet, when you stretch the rounds, the time she has to punch by what is it like 12 additional minutes? Let me see, uh, 3, 6, 10, 16 additional minutes. By 16 additional minutes, Amanda Serrano loses a lot of what makes her uh, the dominant force. That was my opinion. I'm sure that that'll change when both of them start, or any of these other female fighters start fighting for 12 3 minute rounds in championship fights, of course. But I really didn't see a difference. Homie Ricky, allow me to ask you, because I know you're back from allowing your fresh air to calm your high blood pressure. But did you see the Amanda Serrano fight? And did you think it made a big difference that they fought 12 3 minutes?
Nah, man, I actually didn't get to see the fight, man. So I don't want to speak on something. I'm watching the highlights right now, but I need to see it at home.
Are you a
But
misogynist?
but
Are you
what
a
you were
misogynist?
no, actually, when I went to go get myself a coffee, we were
Just
talking
kidding,
about
bro.
how it was like, oh, it's reverse sexism. Why can't men fight 2 minutes, 10 rounds and stuff like that? Then you're
I
talking
was,
about how
yeah,
Mauricio Suleiman was speaking about like the cranium and how their head can't, take
yeah.
too much impact. That's why the rounds are shorter. That's why the duration of the length of the fight is 10 rather than 12 rounds. You remember that one scene from Django Unchained where Leonardo DiCaprio was talking about like phrenology and like the slave trade and the cranium in the brain of a slave. Do you remember that movie
Yeah,
scene
that
from
was Django Unchained, right?
Django? Yeah, that was Django. Nah, it just I wonder why nobody called out Mauricio Suleiman and just be like, hey bro, what you're talking about? You saying some racist shit. Nah, hey bro, look,
Well,
I
sexist.
didn't really watch the fight, so I don't really want to speak on it. But what you were saying, just a couple of a minute ago about Amanda Serrano fighting with her hands down and kind of gassing out in the championship later rounds. She also does that. I would at least I saw it against the Katie Taylor. She also did that in pretty much the whole fight. That's how she cuts off the ring. She fights with her hands down and she's able to pop the twos and the threes and let her, combinations fly. So she's been having that same issue of stamina in the later rounds. It don't matter if it's 12 3-minute rounds or 10
Yeah,
2-minute rounds. She's still having the same issues. That's what it sounds like, at least from what you're describing. But at least what I was watching the highlights right now on the DAZN page on the YouTube channel. Yeah, man, Amanda, like she went out there to prove that we can do what the big boys can do. So
yeah, and she proved it.
proud of her. To your point, I don't know that if this her intention was, oh yeah, if I fought Katie Taylor in men's rules, I would knock her out. I don't know if that was her speech or her selling point for the reason she took this fight. I think she was more, when they petitioned and got the roundup of all the women fighters except Clarissa Shields and Alicia Baumgartner.
Hmm.
It was more like, no, we petition this because we want better pay. The knockouts will come. Didn't come last night or on Friday against Danila Ramos, but it could come
Hmm.
against some other girls.
Yeah,
And the knockouts will come, and we can be much more, richer in that way.
yeah,
I will say this:
yeah.
Alicia Baumgartner, I guess she treated because she's been wanting to fight Amanda Serrano. And now, if I'm not mistaken, Amanda might be 10 pounds lighter than Alicia
Well,
Baumgartner.
Alicia's fighting at what, 135?
Yeah, I think 135, and then Amanda's at 122, 126.
Well, Amanda has fought in as high as 135. She's been a lightweight before.
Oh,
She's a
okay.
champion in lightweight before 2 times actually. So she should be able well, that's the reason. That's the adaptability and the general athletic dedication that Amanda has. She has fought as low as was it super bantamweight, um, like little 112 pounds, 118 pounds, little thingy, right? 122, 126, go for it, and she's gotten up to 135. In essence, like about 7 divisions, in fact. But yeah, homie Ricky, it was a great fight, like all Amanda Serrano fights are. I don't think I knew logically that women could fight the same as men. They could go 12 3-minute rounds if they train for 3-minute rounds. Those concerns that Mauricio Suleiman from the WBC had, and in fact that the Muhammad Ali Act had written in as a clause, which dictated that women could not fight for more than 2 minutes each round and no more than 10 total rounds, was complete bunk. Why? Because when they tried to use that mumbo jumbo scientific OCS material explanation and so forth and so on, using physiology, if the physiological nature of women to justify why they shouldn't fight for longer, uh, they never considered that the same things that they were saying are balanced by the fact that women are made of the same thing. The same bone density, the same cranial structure, all of those hormonal things apply to the next woman. So if a next woman could go 10 2 rounds, they can go 12 3 rounds, 12 3-minute rounds, if they want to, if they train for it. Because at the end of the day, all of those women are created equal, from equal materials, with the same physical advantages or disadvantages that men do. The only time that would even be a thing to reconsider is if men fought women, like as stupidly as Clarissa Shields talks about fighting Keith Thurman or whoever, Canelo or whoever. That's the only time when that's gonna matter, or when transsexuals, transgender fighters decide to fight women that are born in the feminine sex, or vice versa. But female to female is equality. Male to male is equality.
Man, that was a great preamble. I think I'm gonna get that tatted on my chest. No, no, that was fantastic, bro. No, no, that was really good, man. No, I concur. That's all I gotta say. It's good.
Now let's do this. Let's do this
Oh, hold
because
on, hold on, hold on.
oh
Hold
whoa!
on.
I was just gonna talk of
Again,
Shaki. Of
listening to
Shaki.
you get exhausted. No, but it's good stuff. But I'm just, it's a lot to digest. Let it soak in, man. Let it soak in. Alicia Bumgarner on Fight Hype. She said, to be honest, I'd rather see 2 minutes of this. I guess I'm used to seeing a faster pace from Serrano. Now, since you're a scholar and you actually watched this fight, you were saying that Amanda Serrano was getting tired in the championship rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12. Like she gets tired against, the later rounds when she's fighting 10 rounds, 2 minutes apiece.
Uh-huh.
I
Logically, right?
wanna focus on the extra minute of each round. Was she lethargic? The extra man minute.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
okay.
No.
Was she
So
repeating herself, or did she still have the same volume? Because this second sentence from Alicia, I guess I'm used to seeing a faster pace from Serrano. Was she able to maintain that fast pace for 3 rounds of each fight, or no?
yeah, yeah, but no. So it's like this,
Whoa,
homie
whoa, whoa!
Ricky.
Contradicting, yeah, but no. Explain it to
No,
me,
no,
man.
no. So here's the thing, right? You you have to pace yourself. You have to be smart enough. You have the ring IQ to know that you have to pace yourself. We're actually going to talk about a fight where a fighter did not pace himself and paid the consequence over the weekend. And Oshaki Foster and Eduardo Hernandez. But uh, Miss Amanda Serrano paced herself well. She was her output was high, uh, but what also lend itself to less output overall, which also means pacing yourself well and not burning out too quickly. It's the fact that her opponent fought excellently. She boxed excellently. She moved, backwards and laterally. She circled around, made Amanda miss here and there, countered and pot shotted here and there, threw a couple of excellent hooks. So she was getting uh, tagged also, right? So if Amanda Serrano had just had a standing, an opponent that was standing in front of her, yeah, I'm sure that she's gonna tee off. And if the other girl is just very adept at moving and throwing punches and blocking and everything, then maybe Amanda Serrano's gonna tire out more because it's the continuous output that's gonna make her tire out. But no, because the fighter moved well, uh, that meant that Amanda Serrano could not just throw punches and bunches as much as she usually does, but her opponent was still game enough and limited and inexperienced enough that also allowed Amanda Serrano to have moments of spurts of high output. But Amanda Serrano really paced herself well. So she was never completely exhausted. She was at times breathing out of her mouth, walking forward, her hands down, just a little more that you would see from her, just a little more. But you know that she's been preparing for these things for a long time because she obviously did not look that worse for wear.
For sure, man. Nice. It's good. Yeah, no, because I was reading some of the reports that she threw over 1,000 punches,
Yeah,
which is common for Amanda fight, because she
yeah.
throws a lot of punches and bunches. Do you want to see Amanda Serrano move up and fight Alicia Baumgartner, or do you rather see Alicia Baumgartner fight, I don't know, Michaela Mayer at the other divisions?
Well, Michaela Mayer, uh, they already fought, no? I mean, this would be a rematch.
Yeah, but
Um,
Michaela beat her. Nah, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty good fight. But Alicia Baumgartner also tired out against Michaela Mayer. She started off good, and Michaela Mayer started coming off late. In fact, let me pull that fight up. I like
yeah,
that.
please do so. That was a good fight.
That was a good fight versus Michaela.
Michaela's no joke.
Yeah, they're dope, man. That fight was dope. It was true animosity. Let's see this. Fight again, man. That was a good fight.
No, they fought under the I think it was on the Clarissa Shields versus Michaela Mayer fight that took place in Britain.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, no?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Who did I say?
You said Clarissa Shields versus I don't even know, but
I
you
think I
said
said Michaela Mayer.
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. That was a good night for female boxing. I think we need that again for female boxing because that was man. That night was great. And then
That was a
Katie
great
Taylor
night.
versus Amanda Serrano. That was a great night in New York. That was fucking epic, man. That was
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Man, bro. Boxing.
Actually, homie Ricky, I think I'm one of these past lives. Um, I believe Mr. Vince Vargas has said that he does not watch women's boxing. Maybe I'm mistaken. Somebody said that though. Um, and I think there is a round of the year in that first Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor fight on the zone. I think if you just show him like 1 minute, literally like 1 minute, I think he would become a fan. I think anybody would become a fan of, if not the women's side of the sport, at least these two fighters, because they really are incredible pugilists. They're action packed.
Well, let me show the round that should have been scored a 10-8.
Wow, you just
Yeah.
had to do that, huh?
The domination of Amanda Serrano. Let me show it to you really quick. Man, that was a good ass round. Hold on. In fact, the zone is giving you it for free.
The fight was otherworldly. It was really a Juan Manuel Marquez versus Pacquiao fight. It was so action packed. Southpaw versus Orthodox. They were throwing everything. Some were missing, some were countering better. It was incredible. Both of them. Wow, like
Yeah,
man.
that was amazing. Probably one of that's a badass fight. You see, I'm gonna say this. I know Amanda Serrano wants to prove a point by fighting, quote unquote, a man's fight, 12 rounds, 3 minutes apiece. But if she can consistently, and she's done that consistently throughout her career, give us 10 rounds, 2 minutes apiece
Yeah.
of that,
Wow.
we don't need to fight 12 3-minute rounds. Give us that 10-2.
How about 12-2? How about 12-2?
10-2 is perfectly fine. Because
No, I think I want to see more.
we see that we don't need 12-3. In fact, sometimes 12-3, a lot of these fighters pace themselves. A lot of these fighters aren't Leo Santa Cruz. They don't throw a lot of punches. They give us filler rounds. Look at Floyd Mayweather's career, right? He always said, and I think Keith Thurman said this, Floyd is the best 7-round fighter. Because all he knows is all I got to do is win 7 convincingly, and then boom. That means he's going to spot you 3 or 4, maybe 2-3 rounds just to fill you out, and then, but basically just buying his time. and then he's gonna pick you apart, find the openings, and just get his 7, 8 rounds
Oh
in the bag.
God.
You see? But no, that's what he said. You see what I'm
No,
saying?
no, no. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at. Oh my God,
He-
man.
I wish I could find me a chick to whoop me around in the ring.
Hey, look
Hell
at
yeah,
Mr.
come
Marcus. He's
on,
waiting
man.
from the brownie. Oh man. Yeah, no. Look,
Nah,
homie
man,
Ricky.
that was
Look,
messing around
look,
with a ragdoll, dude.
look. So now let's go back. Let's go back to look.
Look,
Um.
hold on. If Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Chantel Cameron, Alicia Baumgartner, Michaela Mayer, Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields, Frank Sean Cruz, don't matter. If they can give us 10 rounds, right, 2 minutes each of that, there's no need for 12-3.
Well, the thing is this, homie Ricky. The whole proposal of extending the fights is obviously to provide us more violence and to allow them to tire out where the tiredness, the fatigue is going to lead to mistakes that the more prepared pugilists can capitalize on. And just, I, 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 I love fighting, right? I want to see great fights. I want them, I want to see more knockouts. And in theory, although it did not live up to it in this fight, in theory, the longer women fight, the the more violence they will provide and the more knockouts as a result. And that's one of the things that this sport needs. That type of has about 40 fights, has been a champion in 7 divisions. She's beaten everybody in all of those divisions, and she's never broken $1 million. Now we know the reason for that. Women's boxing is not in demand as much as the men's. This is not a equal justice kind of thing. This is not a, oh my God, we're discriminating against women. No, it has to do with the fact that women's sport of boxing is not as popular as the men's. And there is a valid argument in saying that the reason for that is because women don't fight as long and as hard as men do. And we can again go trace that back to the Muhammad Ali segment that states that women cannot legally fight for longer. So I argued that women's boxing is being federally discriminated upon, the question of sex, when these writers of these amendments and these acts decide that women cannot beat each other up to a pulp as much as men, and I say they can. Now, this fight that happened Friday was not the weather vane to prove it. Okay, we know that that did not live up to the hype, but nonetheless, in theory, that's how it should work. And as an equal rights individual, all I mean to say is that I don't want anybody to just get equal rights for the sake of it. Uh, you have to fight for it, right? And this is, you have to stand up for yourself and your rights. And this is what these women are trying to do: stand up for the right to fight, to make money. I have no problem with that. Now,
I just feel
uh,
like, just to make it shorter,
yeah,
um, I think they just have to incentivize, the knockout or the round of the night or the fight of the night when it comes down to women boxing. I think that's all they have to do. I think it was HBO or Showtime. I think it was when it was being promoted by Oscar De La Hoya. They had this series called Knockout Kings,
yeah,
and they would incentivize fight of the night, kind of like the UFC does.
mhm,
Boxing used to do that. If you had the fight of the night or the knockout round of the night, etc., there was incentives. UFC does that nowadays, and it was like 10 grand, 15 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand. I don't know, whatever the purses is. I'm pretty
mhm,
sure it's a certain percentage of that added to your purse. That's what they need to do in women boxing, because sometimes it is a little blasé. It is a little not mediocre, but a little boring, a
yeah,
little. But if you incentivize these women by giving them much more money, give us round of the night, fight of the night, a knockout of the night, then they're gonna start looking for it. Then they're stuck. Then they're gonna look for the punch. They're gonna set up traps. They're gonna look for the KO, and they might just get caught and get sloppy in doing so, and boom, they get stunned. So I feel like pertains to a woman night of boxing, they have to do that. And here's another thing: you have to give women a night of boxing. So let's say it was Tuesdays. Every Tuesday for the 52 weeks, you have 52 events and you have women fighting. Kind of like pro box, where they give you fights every Wednesday, whether it's pre recorded or a live event. They should have a night for women fighting and women boxing. It could be a Monday or a Tuesday, something like that, just so you can always tune in and be like, that's my go to spot. But, obviously Saturdays work because, it's the weekend and people can tune in. But the reason I say that is because you said one of the things that made the news that night, Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor, was it was a co-main event for a Jake Paul fight. And that's
Yeah.
why she got paid. Wait, no, actually, no.
No, not this one.
Not this
She
one.
was the main event. This was the main
This
event.
was the main
Yeah.
event? Okay, for sure. And this one,
You mean in the
alone,
this
she made
one?
$1 million?
No, this one was, yeah. No, this one she had already been established. Oh, no, wait. So Jake Paul paid her $1 million to take this fight,
Okay.
and whatever else.
No. Are you sure? Because I remember Jake Paul giving $1 million off his purse to Amanda Serrano when there was a fight going on. And
Yeah,
then Jake Paul, and Eddie Hearn made a bet of $1 million that their fighter would beat, their respective opponent.
yeah.
But in this fight, they still made $1 million, like a piece or whatever. Because I know
Oh, this one way more.
Okay.
This one way more. This one way more because this one packed the whole. I think 10,000 seater in the city of New York, Madison Square Garden. It was a gala event. It was incredible. Yeah. This one was their very first opportunity for both Amanda Serrano, well, mostly Amanda Serrano, because Katie Taylor has always had the admiration and respect of the British and the Irish fans over there. See, the British are just much more accustomed and accepting of women's boxing more so than the men's. Over there, a female fighter can go and make money. That's why Clarissa Shields went over there to take her undisputed fight against Savannah Marshall for money. She would never sell that put that many butts in the seats over here, and not even in her own hometown. In fact,
check this out. It says right here. I understand what you're saying. Hold on, just to reinforce your last sentence there. Jake Paul was the first to confirm that Taylor and Serrano would be making 7 figures for their fight inside Madison Square Garden. This is a major difference compared to when Serrano was just making around $1,500 to $4,000.
ridiculous. And this is the lamentable thing, homie Ricky.
Purse plus the share from those who buy the events on pay-per-view.
Yeah. And the thing is, homie Ricky, right now that your idea of making a women's night of boxing, it wouldn't work because the women have not yet, uh, rightfully so, developed a true fan base of fans dedicated to women's boxing.
Let me
Right?
tell you something.
This is why they're putting.
You've heard
This
of
is not
Vince McMahon, right?
This is not WWE.
Hold on. You've heard of Vince McMahon, right? Would you say he's not one of the best promoters of female entertainment? He's probably second in line to like pornography in terms of promoting females, right? Because he has like Monday Night Raw, fucking Friday Night SmackDown. He had the WWF, WWE. There was Tuesdays, what was it called? ECW. So he's been like one of the pioneers of women combat entertainment. He's got like Trish Stratus, Mickey James. He had a bunch of female fighters, entertainers that did like pillow fights in SummerSlam. He would do the whole thing. He used to have he's like one of the best promoters ever. Made some corny ass, but at times amazing, selling pitches, storylines, and scripts for his female fighters. And he used to have these women along with men, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, X, Y, and Z, all in the same night. Like you said, maybe.
Yeah, but he intermingled.
but they
he
might both.
intermingled he intermingled women's fights with men's fights. This is what I say. They should continue that because regardless of how much Vince McMahon has opened up doors for women's uh, fighting and entertainment, he's never just had a WWE WrestleMania event dedicated and exclusively made up of women's fighters. You see what I'm saying? It hasn't. It works when you treat both the side of the sport of the respective sports, boxing the boxing, wrestling the wrestling, with the equal respect and reverence, and you allow them to fight in the same cards.
Let
And
me
in
tell you
fact,
something,
that's the
sir.
reason why women's sport of boxing is gaining so much traction, because a lot of the time you put the women fighting women and they give it all, and all the guys start with their technical moving backwards, boring style of fighting, and then the women take the night. This is why it works. Once, maybe one day, there'll be a women's only event, but we're
I think they
far
already
from
had
there.
that. They already had a women's event.
Great. It
I
probably
think
didn't sell
Katie
well.
Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. I think their whole undercard was all females, and even Michaela Mayer versus Alicia Baumgartner and Savannah Marshall. I think and Clarissa Shields. That was an all female card as well.
Instead of just speculating,
Something like that.
I think that one was. I
Yeah,
think that one
something like
was.
that. I think there
I
was an
think that
all
one
female
was.
card. So what
Yeah,
I'm
but
trying to
not
tell you
not
is,
no Amanda Serrano one.
yeah,
Not.
probably not because
But
that's
the
like
other one,
NBC
yes.
promotions.
But
So there's
but
like
we go back. But we go back to what I was telling you though. The British and the Europeans. This ain't new to them. They love women's boxing. That's why they could do that over there. Over here in the United States of America, it'll never happen. And if it will happen, it ain't gonna happen anytime soon. We Americans think much differently from our European counterparts, and
I don't
they
know
have.
about that. Now, let me tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this. Now, I don't know if the UFC or MMA has done their own all-female league. I mean, just their female nights of championship fights. Like, let's say it was Amanda Nunes versus Ronda Rousey. Let's just say, for example. Then there's the kickboxer girl that was from a boxer over to MMA. The one that knocked out Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm. Let's say she fought some other chick. And then let's say there was Chris Cyborg versus I don't know, bro. I don't really watch too much MMA, so I don't really know the names. But let's say they threw all that on a pay-per-view. People would buy it. So it's not about whether there's an interest and whether or not this could happen. You said maybe in the future. But what I'm trying to say is it's boxing fans that up to now are now, at least in America, are now somewhat paying attention to female fighters when it comes down to boxing, because in the UFC, men pay attention to the women. Look at Ronda Rousey. She didn't really do anything, just submitted some chick in 12 seconds, then got her head caved in, but she came out on the Expendables, and even Oscar De La Hoya put it on the Ring magazine. So what I'm trying to say is, why hasn't women boxing, women fighters, like let's say Alicia Baumgartner, let's say Amanda Serrano, and company that have over 40 fights, why haven't they gravitated towards the male fan of boxing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's because we lack a Dana White in the sport of boxing or a Dana White UFC system of boxing where it's like the next person, the next man up, next woman up mentality. And they're instantly, once you're a UFC champ, that holds weight here in the United States. And boxing, I just feel like boxers, especially the females, have to have like 50 fights, like Amanda Serrano, to finally get the respect when Ronda Rousey's of the world, they barely have 8-10 fights. And oh my God, Thug Rose. Everyone starts talking about all these female fighters, but I'm like, bro, have you met the baddest chick? Amanda Serrano, she got like fucking 50 fights, 40 knockouts, hella entertaining damn near every fucking night. And why is she that globally talked about? You know what I'm saying?
It's because when we compare MMA with boxing, the homie Ricky, you have to understand one thing, all right? The MMA is much different than boxing, right? Because MMA is a more universally accepted type of fighting style, right? Because you can have Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you can have Judo, you can have Karate, you can have straight up boxing, you can have kickboxing, you can have Muay Thai, you can have every kind of person as long as they're in any kind of, you can even just have regular wrestlers. You can have any kind of fighter with any kind of style go in there, use all four appendages from their left, right arm, left, right legs, and because of the weapons that are at their avail, they're naturally going to be much more violent, right? You can cause a lot of damage with a kick to the face. You can cause a lot of damage to with a knee to the chest, right? So, and when the fights are 5 minute long each, you're gonna wear yourself down. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna start making mistakes. The better fit fighter is gonna take advantage of those and then exploit them. And then there comes the victor at the end. This is the reason why, in theory, again, extending the duration of a female fight should make it better. Now, Dana White was smart enough to understand that it doesn't matter if men and female look different. If they can all fight and he puts them together, by nature you're gonna start watching women and men because you're sitting there watching the fights anyways. So why not just, you're not gonna walk away from a fight just because there's two women. You may initially, because you're gonna be like, women, right? But one day you're just gonna sit there and you're just gonna be pounding your beers back, and you're like, I'm too chill right now. I don't want to get up. And then lo and behold, you get to watch your first female MMA fight. And guess what? There's really no difference between a man and and a women's fight, because they all have the same tools of attack and defense as the men do equally, and they're equally violent. And the duration of the fights also, again, lend themselves out to that wear and tear. Now, this is another factor, right, that nobody really considers when they make that comparison,
Hold
which
on.
is this: we get in an MMA, people get to develop a fondness and a fanaticism and a familiarity with these fighters over time. Why? Because, believe it or not, MMA is not UFC. MMA is a global sport. The UFC is just a brand representing a global sport.
Right.
So in UFC, you may only have 20 fighters in any weight that you're going to get to see again and again, recycle and over. But as you see them often, now you start knowing who they are, what they look like, what the style is. So you become familiarized with those fighters. So you develop a connection much quicker than in the sport of boxing, where in the sport of boxing, it's global. In the sport of boxing, it has different companies, different sanctioning organizations, thousands of fighters around the world representing them. You're never going to have the same opportunities to become a fan of any fighter in the sport of boxing like you would in MMA. I mean, and UFC especially. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people never put this into perspective, but that's the reason why people become fans of UFC, especially not necessarily MMA. Because I know people that
I
are
get it.
big time connoisseurs of UFC, but they don't know nothing about the Eye of the Tiger, KOK, what's it called, Bellator. They don't know nothing about King of Kings. They don't know nothing about him.
Right. So they're just fanboys of UFC, and they're fanboys of Dana White, and they're fanboys of Joe Rogan. I get
And
it.
about 20
But what
fighters
I'm
in
trying
each
to say,
division. Yes.
what I'm trying to say is this, right? I don't think you're hearing me, bro. I don't think you're hearing me. You said something about, again, you get lost into this definitions and the big reveal behind the curtain. You said something amongst the lines that women can do what men can do, and there's no difference or something like that. What is one female fighter that can knock you out like Tank Davis or Deontay Wilder or Canelo Alvarez? There's not one female fighter that can do that. Not Amanda Serrano. Maybe Alicia Baumgartner, but she sure as hell couldn't do it against Christina Lina Dartu. Not Clarissa Shields, and she's a two-time gold medalist. I don't know, 4-time undisputed champion, and she can't knock you out. So women simply cannot do what men can do. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you don't possess Deontay Wilder's knockout ability or Canelo Alvarez's or Tank Davis.
Do you know that Amanda Serrano has like a 75% knockout rate?
Listen,
Do you know that?
her is like punches and bunches. Okay? Hell, if she tags me with a 50-piece combination, right, and rocks my head like fucking David Benavidez was rocking Porky Medina with that little 15-punch flurry, yeah, you're gonna get your fucking brain rattled. But what I'm saying is this: that's what female boxing lacks is knockout artists. See, one of the things that UFC, listen, it's kind of like the steroid era of baseball. Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, Alex Rodriguez. When you paid for those days to watch your not only your fan but a home run artist like Shohei Ohtani, you paid because you're getting one of the best things you can get in the sport of baseball. It's a fucking home run, right? A home run ball. You buy the tickets in the outfield and you take your glove with your kid because maybe you're gonna catch a fucking home run ball. That's a knockout artist in boxing. That's a KO. A home run is a KO. Women need to learn, and this is where I go back 30 minutes ago about incentivizing the knockout of the night, the knockout or round of the fight, etc. Y'all heard the same old rhetoric all over. I don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah, you don't have
That's
to.
what
Please.
women boxing needs. They need a home run. They need a knockout artist. UFC have done an exceptionally great job, not just of matchmaking, but of branding, but also delivering KOs and submissions. Boxing, because they incentivize their fucking fighters, and even though they skin them and fucking barely pay them and shit, right? Francis Ngannou has to fight 8 times just to make what he made in one Tyson Fury exhibition match. So what I'm saying is this: female fighters need to learn, if you get the knockouts and you get a knockout highlight where you make that girl's eye roll back behind her head type of knockout, like that one Ann Wolf fighter did, that right there, that lasting image, it gets ingrained in people's fucking scores. Like, damn, that's a bad bitch. Look
Yeah.
at
So what? Yeah, you're focusing on.
with Hillary. That's her actress name when she fought. Or like I'll pull up. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie. Hold on, give me a second. Dreamer says, or they get the stink.
Yeah. Look, while you look for that thing,
Ali's daughter was a knockout artist. She possibly was, but I remember
I
her.
think she was.
Jose Canseco, the big boy of roids, the snitch, bro. He's a snitch. And the Latino Rodney Coleman.
Look, while you look for whatever you're gonna use to make your argument, I just wanted to point out that I'm not trying to say that there's no difference between a male and female fighter or what they would look like. I'm just trying to talk about more about the opportunities. They should just be treated equally, and it doesn't matter if the outcome is different. I assure you, there's thousands of men fighter that lack a power punch like Devin Haney. Amanda Serrano has more knockouts than Devin Haney. Right. I think Katie Taylor has more knockouts than Devin Haney, but nobody ever says, oh, but nobody says, oh, Devin Haney shouldn't be on pay-per-view. Oh, Devin Haney should not have ice on the price. But should not have ice on the price. Again, what I'm trying to tell you is this: when to make women's boxing popular, they have to take the Dana White and British angle, which is present women's fights along with men, and then men and women get to see both sides of the sport, and then they start treating them equally as just fighters, and whatever happens, because sometimes fights are going to last and in knockouts, and the other times they're going to last all 10, 12 rounds, right? Long story short, now going back to another thing, right? Just to wrap this up, because I am an old man, homie Ricky. There is a man's face.
You're an old man when when it's
There,
convenient to you, man.
there is a man's face right there that I used for my picture. That is Oshaki Foster, the man who fought this past Saturday in the nation state of Mexico. Uh, and he defended his belt against Mexican Eduardo Hernandez. Right now, for all those of our listeners that don't follow the intricacies of dealing and going ons of these fighters and their contracts, this is what happened. Jackie Foster, if I'm not mistaken, is a fighter that fights for the PBC, that now still extant PBC, but a company that's shopping around for broadcasters. Um, he may be independent though, because he may actually have had a contract with MTK, which is Mac the Knife, a company that used to be ran by what the FBI and the Irish authorities said was an Irish mobster who apparently was transporting cocaine and methamphetamine and all kinds of fentanyl over there to Europe, Ireland, Scotland, Britain, Spain, you name it. Apparently, he was dealing with these Mexicans and Colombians, bringing all those drugs over there, and that's the reason why MTK, the company, who was managing fighters like Terrence Crawford or Shaki Foster and all these other greats like Josh Taylor and maybe even Tyson Fury, that company went defunct because they were investigating their head and owner. Um, of being an international drug trade dealer. Now, Oshaki Foster is a belt holder at 130, just like Emmanuel Navarrete is, just like um, Joe Cordina, and who's the other guy that has the 130, homie Ricky?
There's Emmanuel Navarrete,
There's
Joe
Navarrete,
Cordina,
Cordina.
Oshaki Foster, and
Uh,
there's going to be Joe Cordina, Oshaki Foster, Emmanuel Navarrete, and shit, I don't know who the other dude is, bro.
wow.
Oh,
We're
Jose
supposed to
Luis.
know.
Oh, Hector
Oh
Luis.
yeah, Hector Luis Garcia. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so this fight took place because the sanctioning bodies that that run and are work under the auspices whose job is to be the officials handling the belt that Oshaki Foster had. They mandated that he fight his number one contender and Eduardo Rocky Hernandez from the nation state of Mexico. Now, Rocky Hernandez was coming off of an 11 fight knockout streak. If I'm not mistaken, he's a knockout artist. And he's a pressure fighter. And Oshaki Foster is more of a defensive master, good at countering, good at moving, good jabber, good combinations, not much power, or so we thought, right? Now, somebody needed to host this fight. And when these fights go out for bidding, basically these organizations have these blind bids. Whoever wants to promote these fights, they show up to these events and they start bidding on who wants to host these fights, who wants to promote these fights. You put a number on an envelope, you pass it out there, they read them out, and whoever bids the most gets to promote that fight. Just Eddie Hearn from Matchroom, who was co-promoting Rocky Hernandez, he took the highest bid, so he got to host the fight. And he decided that the best place to host this fight was in Mexico, which some people started to think was at the advantage of Rocky Juarez, the Mexican, even though he was the contender. Now, a lot of people, they were very critical of Eddie Hearn moving this fight to Mexico because they're like, well, the American has the belt. Why doesn't he fight in America? Well, Eddie Hearn is like, because it's my money. And because you guys don't watch Oshaki Foster. You guys don't go and see Oshaki Foster when he fights. So I'm gonna take the belt to a place that loves fights, Mexico, who's used to watching little weight classes fight each other, Mexico, and I'm just gonna give my fighter, the guy who I'm used to dealing with, a shot at his belt. And yes, it's insinuated that he has home field advantage. Now, Oshaki Foster doesn't care, right? Because Oshaki Foster believes in himself. He got the fight on the cheap. Eddie Hearn did. I think it was like $250,000. So the max was going to be like 150 each, maybe like 175 or whatever each payout. This is that fight right there. Now, Oshaki Foster looks at this simple, basic, come forward Mexican, and he starts thinking, I've seen these guys before. I don't have to worry about this guy. But Rocky Juarez is a tough SOB. Like any Mexican, they are tough. They never give up. And Oshaki Foster, of course, being the defensive master, he's at the initial part of the fight. He's boxing well, moving back. The come forward Mexican is giving him hell, coming forward, trying to cut off the ring, and he's having some success. But mostly he's doing so by the body shots. Now, a lot of people really don't care much about the body shots. It's an underappreciated punch. A lot of people just tend to give points for the fights whenever they land flush on the face. Now, Oshaki Foster was landing very flush on the face for the first initial half of the fight. But the Mexican was having a lot of success to the body. Oh, look, watch this. Wow. Wow, look at this. That, ladies and gentlemen, was round 11 of the fight between Oshaki Foster and Eduardo Hernandez. That was, in essence, the round of the year. Like the announcer said, round of the year. Without a doubt, that was the round of the year. The fight itself was great. And watch this. The pace. Look at that warrior spirit of the Mexican. He's just been knocked down. He's breathing profusely until he can't fight anymore. Homie Ricky, this fight.
I don't need your narration, man.
was incredible. The Mexican figured out how to attack the American champion, and he had his success to the body. As the fight progressed, the Mexican became much more dominant. He was able to push his American opponent and champion to the ropes. He started fighting in the pocket, going to the body, leveling up, going to the head, and occasionally Oshaki Foster was sneaking a tricky counter, a tricky uppercut, a tricky hook between the punches. But the volume of punches was going in the favor of the Mexican. But Oshaki Foster was weathering that storm until towards the 10th, ninth, 10th, and 11th round, the Mexican is tiring out. He hadn't paced himself. He blew a lot of his load during the first few rounds trying to chase and cut off the ring, and it started to pay dividends for the American when Oshaki Foster started to fight back and sit on his punches and attack with more conviction and counter harder and start moving forward. Where before he was moving and circling around, he started noticing that his Mexican opponent was tiring out, and he started to attack. And in the 11th round, it came to a head. He starts seriously hurting the Mexican, and as you saw right there, the Mexican gives his back. He's looking at his corner like, man, what do I do here? That's a sign of quitting. But we know the Mexicans never quit. So he turns his back after a hellacious combination of punches at the American's hands. He turns his back. He starts sort of running around. The ref is walking right in back of him like, what are you doing? The American starts coming back, and he starts tagging him because as far as he's concerned, ain't nobody stopping that fight. The Mexican just throws everything in one punch. He hits the American. The American takes that punch. He gets rocked, goes to the ropes. The Mexican is smart enough to know he hurt the American, walks over there, starts tagging him, and he starts turning the tide. The 11th round of the Eduardo Rocky Hernandez versus Oshaki Shock Foster fight was the round of the year, bar none.
The 11th round or the 12th round was the fight of the year.
11th round was the round of the year.
I don't even know too many memorable fights. I know we've had great fights this year, but yeah, probably. I don't know, man. Luis Neri versus Azat was a really good fight. Joe Cordina versus Rakimov. That was fight also. Jaime Munguia versus Sergey Derenchenko. I don't know, man. I think you're a victim of the time, of the moment, because those had some pretty good fucking rounds too. I don't know if they were just as climactic as that 11th round that we just saw, but they had some. I don't know, man. Remember, those were good rounds. Those were some good ass fights.
Yeah, no, and the reason why I'm saying that it's the round of the year, homie Ricky, is because if you go to the Rakimov versus Cordina fight, or you watch the Neri versus what was his name? Goodness, disrespectful. I can't even recall his opponent's last name. Or even the Amanda Serrano versus Erica Cruz fight. What you recall about those fights is that every round was hard fought, right? You can't pick one round in any of those fights and say this one was better than that one because they were all equal. In this fight, yeah, both of them were doing good work, but it was like a crescendo, right? It's like when you listen to an opera piece. The music starts, nice and slow, and as you go towards the middle, towards the volta or whatever those things are called in opera or classical music, it starts changing and it goes through these transitions. and the story starts building, and it starts reaching a climax, a peak where all of the instruments are playing longer, harder, louder, and then it reaches like a pitch, like a like a peak. And this is how that fight started. It starts going upwards and a curve of violence, whereby the other fights were equally fought. In each round, this one starts changing dynamics. So you start settling down and you start coming up with an impression of what the fight is going to be. Oh, the American is just going to move. This is going to be a boring fight. Here comes another African American fighter that's going to put up a stinker. And you know, Mexicans don't love that kind of stuff. They love you to sit down there and throw punches and bunches. And that's what they saw from the Mexican. So it starts changing. There's more surprises than just a fight that's just going back and forth. It starts giving you different looks. Everybody starts doing different things. And then one guy finally has success over the other guy. And you think the fight's over. And then that guy who's just about to get his behind beat, he comes up with the magical punch, hits the other guy, turns the tide. There's so many emotions, so many changes going on there that you're not even able to process much of it, right? And then, and then, right when you think the fight can't get any better, there is an exclamation mark. There is a clear winner, a man that dug in deep, weathered the storm, and raised his hand at the end. This fight, in and of itself, was incredible, but the 11th round stood out because you saw that the 12th round, anybody could take it. Anybody could take it. It was incredible. It's a pressure puncher versus the natural boxer. And it turned out that the natural boxer turned out to be a boxer puncher. All he had to do was let the opponent wear himself out and not pace himself, and he just had to dig in deep and then sit on his punches, and that's what happened. It was a great fight, homie Ricky.
Yeah, no, man, I would agree with you, man. Yo, on that note, unless you want to talk a little more, but I think I'm pretty good for talking on a Sunday night.
Yeah, I think we had a good. I think we talked about all the things we wanted to that I wanted to talk about. I mean, I did want to address Oshaki Foster's incredible defense of his belt. I did want to talk about the Serrano and Danila Ramos fight, and whether that changed anything in the opinions of us boxing fans, and whether extending the fight would change the sport of boxing of women. And I don't think that was the example for it. And we also talked about the chicanery, the tomfoolery, and the continuation of the deceit, and the and the way that this conniving man Tyson Fury manipulates the sanctioning bodies, and especially the sport of boxing. The man is a genius. He is the Kanye West of boxing. And yep, I think we talked about everything. And I am glad that we had this opportunity because I'm an old man and I should have slept 3 hours ago.
Yeah, man, right on. Yeah, absolutely. Dreamer, Vince. Let me see what else came in. Yeah, Speed. Y'all have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. It was fun. The
Yeah,
comments of the night was this one. Where is it at? Where is it at? I gotta This was the comment of the night.
let
I
me see
wish
what was
you
that.
could find me a chick to whoop me around the ring like that. Yeah, that
Oh
was fun,
God.
man. And on that note, guys, have a good night. Hopefully, you guys had a great weekend. And Monday, tomorrow, man,
Yeah,
let's
I
get
know
it.
you're not. I know you're not gonna want to do a live because, well, you got football and all kinds of stuff, whatever. But I did want to say, it was fun. The homie Ricky, thank you again for the invite, Mr. Vince Vargas, Dreamer Vargas, the whole Vargas clan, really, and even the the Vargas dynasty. Might as well, right? Say hi to all the Vargas out there and all our listeners that are too shy and trust our opinions so much that they choose not to chat with us. On that note, on my end, I do bid you adieu and wish you all a wonderful night. Until next time.
Good night, fellas.